We live in a world that just can't stop talking. And for so long, we've been told that to get ahead, you've got to be loud. But what if that's all wrong? What if the most powerful person in the room is actually the quietest? Today, we're diving into the secret strengths of silence. So let's start with this question right here. Because our culture has a pretty loud and clear answer, doesn't it? We see someone talking a lot and we think, oh, they're confident. And then we immediately assume that confidence means they're competent. But we're going to spend the next few minutes really picking that idea apart. On one hand, you've got this cultural myth that's been dubbed the extrovert ideal. It's this deep-seated belief that the perfect person is outgoing, always has something to say, and is totally comfortable in the spotlight. But the reality is, well, it's something completely different. Silence isn't a bug in the system. It's a totally different operating system. It's not an absence of power. It's a different kind of power, one that's built on watching, listening, and thinking deeply. Okay, so how did we even get here? How did being quiet become what some researchers literally call a second-class personality trait? Well, it actually started back in the early 20th century when society kind of shifted its focus from a person's inner character to their outward personality. Yeah, this bias has some really fascinating roots. Study after study shows that in Western cultures, we consistently rate people who talk a lot as smarter, more attractive, and better leaders, even when there is absolutely zero connection to how good their ideas actually are. We've literally been trained to judge the book by its very, very loud cover. But here's the absolute game changer in this whole conversation. Being quiet isn't a personality flaw. It's not even really a choice for a lot of people. It's actually baked right into their biology, their neurobiology. This isn't about being better or worse. It's just about being wired differently. And it all comes down to a tiny part of the brain called the reticular activating system, or the RAS for short. The easiest way to think about it is like it's the brain's volume knob for everything coming in from the outside world. It basically decides how much stimulation you can take before you feel either totally overwhelmed or, on the other hand, completely bored. And this right here explains everything. See, extroverts have a less sensitive RAS. Their volume knob is set low, so they need more stimulation. Loud parties, big groups, constant chatter, just to feel awake and engaged. But introverts, their RAS is highly sensitive. Their volume knob is already turned way up, so that exact same party feels like a total sensory assault. They're not avoiding you because they're antisocial, they're avoiding the noise to protect their own energy and focus. And get this, silence isn't just empty space. It's an active ingredient for growing your brain. Seriously, studies on how our brains create new neurons found that while noise can cause a temporary spike in cell growth, it was only periods of silence that allowed those new brain cells to actually survive and plug into the network. Silence, it turns out, literally builds a better brain. So okay, how does all this science play out in our actual social lives? Well, while quiet people often get labeled as being awkward or not having social skills, the truth is they're usually playing a completely different social game. And honestly, it's often a more powerful one. This one word pretty much says it all. The biggest challenge for quiet people isn't a lack of anything. It's just constantly being misunderstood. Their quietness is mistaken for being bored or angry or weak, when in reality, it's just a sign that the most interesting stuff is happening inside their head, not outside their mouth. This table breaks down the difference perfectly. Extroverts are masters of breadth. They can build a huge network of friends really fast. Introverts, on the other hand, are focused on depth. They're not wasting energy on small talk. They're investing in a smaller number of really strong, meaningful bonds. And that last point is so crucial. Extroverts often talk to figure out what they think, while introverts first think and then they talk. So let's just bust a few myths right now. Being quiet is not the same as being shy. Shyness is about the fear of being judged. Introversion is just a preference for calmer environments. It's not a secret signal that someone is angry or weak. It's a sign of a rich inner life that doesn't need to be broadcasted 24/7. Now, let's switch gears a bit. Beyond just being a personality type, silence can be used as a powerful, active tool. In a really important conversation, like a negotiation or an argument, saying nothing at all can be the smartest thing you do. And here's a really simple way to do it. When you use what's called a strategic pause, you completely flip the pressure in a conversation. See, most people are so uncomfortable with silence that they'll rush to fill it. And in that rush, they often give away information or make concessions they never meant to. The person who can sit comfortably in that silence is the one who's truly in control. And listen, this is not some new idea. We're talking about wisdom that's centuries old. Philosophers like Lao Tzu understood that real strength isn't about having a quick comeback. It's about having the self-control to pause, to observe, and then to act with real intention. Silence gives you that critical space. It's also so important to realize that what silence means changes dramatically depending on where you are in the world. In speaking cultures like the US, a pause in conversation feels awkward, like something's wrong. But in listening cultures like in Japan or Finland, taking a long pause before you answer a question is actually a sign of respect. It shows you're giving their words the serious thought they deserve. And understanding all of this is the key to seeing how quiet people can be incredible at something you'd never expect: leadership. The stereotype is that a leader has to be this big, charismatic, booming personality, but the data shows the reality is often the exact opposite. The quiet leader's superpower doesn't come from their own voice. It comes from their ability to listen. Because they're not trying to be the center of attention, they create space for everyone else on the team to step up and share their ideas. They care more about getting to the right answer than they do about their own ego, and that makes their teams feel safe to innovate. And this isn't just some feel-good theory. We've got the numbers to prove it. A huge study led by Adam Grant at Wharton found something amazing. While extroverted leaders did well with teams that were more passive, it was the introverted leaders who got much better results, higher profits, from teams that were proactive and full of ideas. Why? Because they actually listened to them. And this principle goes way beyond the boardroom. Just think about Rosa Parks. She was a leader who changed the entire course of history, not with a loud speech, but with a single, quiet act of powerful defiance. Her power wasn't in her volume, it was in her unwavering resolve. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that we've been measuring influence all wrong. It's not about who talks the most or who has the loudest voice. Real influence comes from timing, from depth, and from having the wisdom to listen way more than you speak. Which really just leaves us with one final question to think about. In this incredibly noisy world we all live in, maybe the most important skill isn't learning to speak up, but learning what to listen for in the quiet. So, what will you choose to hear?